Welcome to another Doc Media how-to video. We're looking at Powergold today and how to add a new song. We're going to go to our music library here, and you can see the categories down the left-hand side. Now, each station setup of Powergold could be slightly different, so I'll try and explain the things which are customizable and those which are universal. So we're going to add a new song, or as you can see in the brackets, insert is the shortcut. So we're going to add plus, we're going to add title of test song, and I'll get my writing right. Okay, so test song, we're going to pick a category. This one's going to go into mainstream new there. And the song for this sake is 3 minutes and 23 seconds long. We're going to leave it as inherit the type. Now artist, we're going to say this is by U2, and that's it. It's in there as a primary artist, and I'm going to build the artist display text. So the artist separation, so for example, let's just say we've got rather than U2, something like Cold Chisel, and there's Cold Chisel songs in our database and Jimmy Barnes songs in our database. We want to have a separation, so we build the separation first. In fact, let's just do that. Let's go Cold. Oh, no wonder it didn't exist. To remove artist. And then I'm going to also add okay, and then so you'll see that they're in the primary. So then when I click this, it's got Cold Chisel / Jimmy Barnes. It'll automatically build that as the artist. So it'll separate from both of those, and the song will be labeled as Cold Chisel / Jimmy Barnes. I might decide, no, I just want to leave it as Cold Chisel, and that's fine. So then I want to add some properties. Each station is going to be pedantic or require you to add different types of properties of energies. For this one, it's going to be an energy of 4. We're going to go through it, for the sake of it, we're going to say 80s. It's not going to be an opener. It's Australia. That's the origin where it's from. We're not going to add anything from a promo. That promo category is a bit customized. Role, it's going to be male. To define these, again, there's going to be different definitions from one station to the other. The way I generally define it is it doesn't matter if it's multiple males, if it's a male group or male vocalist, I add male, female group, female vocalist, I just add female. Group I would use when it's multiple voices, or it could be a mixture of voices, which is a slightly similar but slightly different from a duet. A duet is a very specific type of, two different voices from two different things singing about turns, whereas a group might have a female vocalist, a male vocalist, or Black Eyed Peas, for example. It could have been a bit of Fergie or a bit of the Boys, and one song to the next. It was just varied how it mixed up. So that's where I would put group versus the duet being a very typical, usually romantic, but you think about Pink and Nate Russ. That's definitely a duet. So sound code, again, not every station uses this, and they all have its own different categories, but I would definitely use it. Most of the things you add as properties is to define rules around rotations and scheduling. So I add these to say, okay, my station might not want to have more than one urban or hip-hop style track per hour. So by adding it, it gives me the chance to control that, so I don't have too much urban or hip-hop come up. I don't want too much dance to be coming up. I don't want too much adult contemporary to be coming up, whatever it might be. So add the things by the definition of your station. Special, nothing particular. That's a customized area. Tempo, these days, most stations aren't using that as much, but texture, whether it's thin or full, again, I don't particularly schedule a whole lot around that. Type, I will use this in, say, Christian radio stations by defining the difference between a Christian song and a mainstream artist, so that no matter what category they're in, and we can run reports and run rotations on that as well. So for this sake, we're going to say that. Mood and energy, they're very similar in my definition, but again, each station is going to be slightly different. For me, there's a difference between the mood something carries with it, the emotional energy versus the physical energy of the foot tapping style. So I would define the difference between the mood and the energy based on emotional impact versus the the almost a BPM style of the energy, but not quite defined around that. How pumped, how much do you tap your toes is your energy from my definition. And, you might have a bit of an influence on the mood. You might have a dance track that is quite depressing in lyric, and so the mood might be lower than the actual energy, for example. Again, it's all about just controlling the sound and having control over the brand that you present based on music selection. Now, depending on what station you're using, what automation system you're using as to where the individual identifier for the track is, some use the things over in additional for hard disk location and file names. For some stations, it's the miscellaneous field or the cart numbers or the CD numbers, and that's a custom setting depending on a number of other things. So we won't go too much more into that. Intros, based on the information that you want to keep or don't want to keep. Now, you can do a day part. You can restrict it from playing in certain time periods. If you want to do that, then just click on there, select the day part that you've got set up. For example, I want to say it's only allowed to play in nights and overnights, or whatever the Mondays and Tuesdays only, and I set those up by the editor and percentage back. So if default is set to 100% back, which is standard, which means that if there's 10 songs in the folder, every time it plays, it drops back to 10th place and it moves its way up and it drops back to 10th. Whereas if you put a 50% percentage back, it'll only drop back halfway, so it'll play effectively twice as much as it would have otherwise. That's if you want to make it spin faster than it normally would, then you can add a percent back to it. Secondary for all your record company and your APRA codes and composers and the likes. Also over in the additional field, as we said, file names, hard disk locations. If you add that, so for example, we're going to add this particular song. I'm going to go here and add it there. What happens is you can hit F10 on the keyboard when you're in your music library. It'll open up Windows Media Player or whatever you have set in your player settings, and it will give you a chance to listen to the track. So if you go, what was that song again? Hit F10 and away it goes. I won't do that because that'll stop this video recording, but you can make sure that that's set up. And notes, if you want to add particular notes. The history track, you can put chart positions, the likes. It'll show you the scheduling. There's a whole bunch of customizable stuff that you can go through there. In the early stages, probably don't worry about that. Some research fields. Future moves is something we'll deal with in another video. And there's all sorts of custom fields you can set up. So if there's something that you want to have recorded on here, but it's not a default field, you can create custom fields, and you can, by clicking on customize tabs, make those custom fields appear in your whatever tab that you want them to appear into. So you can just literally drag and drop if that's what you want to do. So that's the basic of how to add a track. Just make sure primary things, that the unique identifier, which in this case for this edition of Powergold is the miscellaneous field. So I'd want to add the selected number. So then whatever is defined as the unique identifier, if you add a duplicate in there, it will pop up with there's something else that already has that number. Are you sure? So that's a really good thing to have, as a field set to the unique identifier. I've had stations that use that as the unique identifier, that use that as a unique identifier. Each station is going to be slightly different. Hopefully that will help you to add a new song to Powergold. Thanks for watching.